Hello, everyone. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is Friday Night at the Barbell with your hosts, Carson Wendell,
Brian Wood,
Larson.
and we also have a couple of special guests today. We're going to get to later on, but we have Reiland and Zoe here with us. They're going to talk about their first meet later on in the podcast.
First thing, I wanted to shout out a couple of reviews that we had. Spotify. It was, someone said the podcast was great, but that Bryant guy's voice sucks, which is very obvious to me because I have to edit the whole thing. And after an hour of hearing myself talk, I know that it sucks. You don't have to remind me. And if you do it again, I will just dox you straight from Spotify. And then Holly from Hall's Talk Show on TikTok and Instagram and everywhere you find podcasts said we had a great casual conversation about what it's like to live a life where the gym is a high priority on the list. She's excited to see what's next, which I think we got a lot coming soon, and hope to get more reviews that are at least decent like that.
Thank you, Holly. That was beautiful.
Holly's great. She's offered all sorts of assistance in any podcasting need that we have. And I wanted to talk a little bit about the future direction. I think we all agree that we want to interview more people, but the interview format is more of a open conversation on strength sports in general and people's involvement in them, not necessarily about their squat, bench, deadlift. Anybody can look up open powerlifting now. You don't have to ask someone what they squat because I don't really care.
Yeah.
I want to know why they squat.
Yeah.
And we've already got a bunch of people lined up as guests. Next is going to be a good friend of mine, Mark Minyard. He is a future registered dietitian. I think he finishes up next year, he said, and he's a current diet and strength coach. We also have Ronald Tarvin, which I think everyone knows, Sir Jim Rat Fitness. A buddy of mine, Ben Johnson. He's over in the UK. He's an up-and-coming evidence-based strength coach. Chris Lentini, everyone's favorite Smurf. Les Keys, who just got back from Hawaii to Alabama. Taylor Crowder, which is everyone's favorite photographer in the state of Alabama. Then Courtney Jenkins, which is he's been a longtime judge for USPA and now WRPF. He's out of Maverick Barbell in Millbrook. He wanted to come on and talk as well. So that's the ones we have lined up right now.
It's a pretty interesting lineup there. I like the kind of diversity. Not all of these people are necessarily like top level athletes, but it's kind of just different perspectives of how they're involved in powerlifting, strength sports, other than athletes. So that's interesting. But yeah, we love to hear the feedback. So give reviews, feedback. Tell us what you'd like to hear. What some things that we may have talked about that you liked, that sort of stuff. That really helps. So
yeah, I've had a lot of people reach out to me on Instagram and in person and say they actually enjoyed it, which was surprising. I didn't think we would have any traction at all in the beginning. I thought we were just going to shoot the shit for an hour every time and talk to ourselves. But people actually enjoyed it, which is even more surprising.
Yeah.
And in the first episode, if you can call it that, I call it the pilot, episode 0, where we just tried it out. We shouted a bunch of lifters out that are kind of top lifters right now. And I kind of want to go back through and mention them again because things have changed since we mentioned them. Like Eugene Bazemore, who I think we recorded the first episode the day before his meet.
Yeah. Big Gene.
And at _Royal Jeans on Instagram, he finally got his 2K total, which is what he set out to do when he first started lifting, which is only a year ago. So it's not even 2 years in.
Put on a
2K
clinic.
total going, and he curled after the 2K total. Strict curl.
SBDS.
Strict curl nation. So that was pretty wild. Now he's going for 2100 next. And I think he's taken what I like about that approach is, as strong as he is, he's still taking it slow.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's not rushing it. And a lot of people Well, he's still in the gym. He's taking time off from some things, but he's still lifting as hard as he can. And what's good about that is he gives his body time to recover while still pushing. Or other people get caught up in, I hit 200, I hit 2K, now it's time to go to 2100. Mm-hmm. Now it's time for 2200. Like they just keep pushing as fast as possible. And he's realized that he's got to take it slower now.
Gene is somebody that is exciting to watch, to say the least. I think anyone that's in the sport of powerlifting would say that, and then other people that may just come, to watch that maybe not know much about the sport. I think it's really cool. It's just a personality, and he gets hype. And that's fun. That's really fun to watch. So, shout out Gene.
Some of the other people that maybe we didn't mention, but I think was pretty crazy news in the strength world. Zach the Hulk Myers at the Hulk Myers broke the all-time 308 world record total. I think that was Larry Wheels previously. It was 2308 or something like that, which is just insane. And it was in sleeves, just a wacky total. And WRPF, I believe, too.
Crazy.
And then I hope everyone saw it, but Marley Parrish at Marley P_29, 13-year-old girl, 75 kilos, 165 pounds, with a 314-pound squat, a 220 bench, and a 403-pound deadlift at 13 years old. Unbelievable.
That's insane. The 220 bench for a female at 13 years old is absolutely ridiculous.
Any 13-year-old benching 220.
Oh, yeah. I was not even...
And when I saw the video, she does not look 165. She's like barely over 148, probably. Then I saw this one yesterday or today. Ernesto Lopez at footless_freak. He did full power on a single leg. He took his prosthetic off.
Yeah.
And squatted and deadlifted with one leg. And still totaled.
I saw the deadlift.
Totaled 815 or something with a 165 squat, 309 bench, and 341 deadlift.
No excuses.
Kind of wild.
Very
wild.
just like did he just like pistol squat the 165?
Yeah. The depth.
That's crazy.
Did he get 3 white lights? Because I don't know if the other hip went below parallel, but
Yeah.
Well, I guess you could. I guess in that sense, you could just lift the other leg up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then again, it doesn't have. There's no knee on that leg. So what crease goes below what?
I think at that point they're like, all right, man, we're gonna get
you do it. You can get
if
it.
If you pistol squat it, then you're good.
But
it's impressive nonetheless.
Yeah, that's wild. Awesome. Then we talked about the Deadlift World Championship a tiny bit, which is September 2nd, which is 9-ish weeks away.
I'm so excited to watch that. I think that's going to be so fun.
Jamal Browner.
So about 45 minutes ago, he posted, did 904 for 4 conventional deadlift. It looked like an RP 6.5 or 7. That's insane. Because you see, like, these big guys like Larry Wills, he used to strap up when he was humongous, like over 300 pounds, and he would pull, I think in a suit, he pulled like 930 for 2, maybe 3.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like Jamal's doing over 900 pounds for 4 reps. Easy. I'm really excited to see what he does in I think it's like 9 weeks away.
Well, I wrote down some other stats. So Ivan Makarov, which is at Ivan_Makarov Strong, did 1,049 pounds for 2 reps. He did it for a double. Then you have Graham Hicks, who is one of my personal favorites in strongman. He's fun. Mm-hmm. He's funny. He's fun to watch. Graham Hicks, UK. He did 903 for 5.
Crazy.
Then Rauno Heinle, he's known for the deadlift. 705 for 12. And he's older
really
too. I want to say he's close to 40. And he did 1049 last year in the same competition. And what I wanted to mention is Jamal's advantages and disadvantages. So one of his advantages, I think, in this, there's only like 3 or 4 guys that are only doing the deadlift,
Mm-hmm.
and he's one of them.
Yeah.
Everyone else is also training for the competition.
Mm-hmm.
So basically how they do it is there's going to be a max deadlift to start, and then a strongman competition continues. And the deadlift is part of it. They'll get scored on the deadlift, and then additionally scored on everything else.
Yeah, kind of like a deadlift only within the.
He's doing deadlift only,
Yeah,
and then everyone else is doing full power,
right?
Essentially,
So he can just go absolute yard
right
on the deadlift.
The people I wrote down are also doing deadlift only.
Okay.
I think Rauno, he's doing both. Graham Hicks and Ivan are both only doing deadlift. Ivan has been trying this 505 kilos for like the last 3 years. Like just this. He's wildly strong. A disadvantage that he has, not only is he smaller in weight, Jamal Brown, but also he's not wearing a deadlift suit.
Yeah.
Oh, he's doing it raw. Yeah.
And they're all wearing deadlift suits.
Yeah.
So if he put one on, he would probably be at a disadvantage now.
Because
But
he's
like,
overtraining.
and the difference to me would be their bodies aren't as beat up because they're putting on the suit.
Yeah.
The suit's doing some of the work.
Yeah.
So as it gets down to it and Jamal's training harder and harder, is he going to be able to keep up with people training in suits?
Yeah.
That's what I want to see.
I think because Jamal's pulled 1,100 in straps sumo, but it seems like
500 kilos.
Yeah, 500 kilos.
Which the number they go for is 505.
Yeah.
That's the number they're going for.
That's what the 10, what is it?
502 is the current world record. That's why they're going 505. 502 and a half.
Yeah, it's 11.
That's
And
what
505, 11.
so Thor did 502 and a half to break 500,
Yeah.
and they're doing 505.
And it's crazy to think when Thor did that, what was it, 3 years ago?
2020.
Or
Yeah,
3 years ago?
at his house.
At his gym. Like,
Backyard.
that was absolutely crazy to watch. And now you got guys like Ivan pulling 1049 and guys like Jamal pulling, what would you say, 905 today? for
Not
four?
yeah, 904 for 4. But it was
It was super easy.
yeah. But he probably had at least 2, maybe 3 more. Very interesting. I'm excited to watch that. That's
Too. So this question I like a lot. Beef Wellington. Everyone knows what it is except for Carson. And it turns out Pop-Tarts are in the Beef Wellington family because they are a pastry that encloses a filling. The filling just happens to be some fake-ass fruit smashed up into a jam.
But if you're going to go with that logic, wouldn't you consider a donut part of the Beef Wellington family too?
If
Like
it's closed,
like a cream-filled donut.
yeah, if it's closed, for sure. And then that makes corn dogs. 1,000% it makes corn dogs
'Cause it's meat
a Beef
inside.
Wellington. Especially a
Meat
mini
inside.
corn dog.
Oh, for sure.
Mini Beef
So
Wellington.
before this, we talked. I was like looking at this like list, and we talked. I was like, "What is Beef Wellington?" I didn't know what that was. I did not know.
Typical
I've been educated and Gordon Ramsay'd.
Uncultured swine.
I know.
Carson Wendell.
I guess so. But that's okay.
Now he's cultured.
Yeah.
Knows what a Beef Wellington
Yeah.
is.
So I eat Pop-Tarts, so I'm pretty much.
You know, if you eat Pop-Tarts, you've already been on the Beef Wellington grind. You didn't even know it.
I'm also okay. This is another thing I just thought of that. So with Pop-Tarts, okay, I'm a very strange individual. My wife like roasts me pretty hard for this.
This
So
man made chicken shakes the other day, by the way.
yeah,
Chicken
shakes, little canned chicken, egg whites, blender, pound it. But no, the Pop-Tart thing. So when you open a pack of Pop-Tarts, there's 2 pastries in there. Do you eat one at a time? Most people would say absolutely.
Yeah, like when I do it, I'll open
So
it and like break one in half and eat that, and then eat the other
Okay.
half, and then break. the
So
other
when
half
I
and eat
open
the
Pop-Tarts, I roll the wrapper down and I bite into
You get like
both
a candy
Pop-Tarts
bar?
at the same time.
That's like eating a Kit Kat without breaking.
Yeah. So I'm
Psychotic.
yeah.
Absolutely psychotic.
Yes. So my wife, she took a picture of where I bit out of both Pop-Tarts and she posted it on her Instagram story. And she polled, she was like, "Is my husband a psychopath?" Yes or no? And it was like 99%.
Overwhelmingly. And then she caught you with the chicken shake the other night. really solidified.
Yeah,
her
the canned
brain.
chicken has a unique smell, and my wife was like, "Get out of this house with that."
I can't wait for the video on that. You need to make sure you save it. I need to see it over and over again.
You saved the cheesecake one?
I don't think so.
Don't worry, that's easy to recreate.
Oh,
Will it recreate the joy that I got? Yes. Also, yes.
The voiceover made it. The voiceover is what made it funny.
I kind of wish there was voiceover plus you
The
just
actual
chopping
audio?
down. That
so what we're talking about? We were talking about doing because Brian Shaw has a YouTube video, Strongman Brian Shaw, where he eats like 10,000 calories, but that's like his daily intake for his strongman prep. So at night he always does cheesecake. So I videoed myself eating half of a cheesecake and sent it to a group message and did a voiceover because it was so embarrassing. The sound, I listened back to it and I was like, this is horrendous. It was just like crumbs flying. But
incredible, really.
anyway. All right. We have our guests here with us today. They just finished their first powerlifting meet. We are going to ask them some questions about that and how, just some different things. I know we may have some people that listen that may have never competed before. And this is I think will be cool to kind of see some thoughts on kind of first impressions, emotions, things like that. So
I think another cool thing about it to me is a lot of us that have competed think about the next one and we completely forget about the first. So I think it'll be a good retrospective for most people because we don't often do that. We don't think about the first one we did. We don't even think about the last one we did. We only think about the next one we're going to do.
Because that's like me. Even though I did my first meet back in May of last year. So I remember it, but I don't think about it because, like you said, I'm looking towards my next.
Yep.
Like I have bigger goals set for my next. I'm looking forward to hitting that.
So we'll start with Reiland. Reiland, what was your experience at your first meet? Overall, what was your takeaway? Like how you felt during and then after?
I guess my first meet experience, I would categorize it as it went by way faster than I expected it to be. Because I have watched as a spectator 2 meets before, and it was a long slog all day. To be fair, our meet had a few less lifters in it, but warming up for my first attempt on squat, I was shaking. I was like, oh God, I'm about to go. It was very stressful in that aspect. I'm kind of a over preparer, so that I was overthinking it a lot.
It's over preparation, and then in the heat of the moment, you realize there is no way you can be prepared.
And there's no preparation.
It's just going to happen.
And things it's so it all depends on the meet. I know a meet I did last year in Sheffield. It was the flights ended up
Sheffield,
being
Alabama.
yeah
Not the Sheffield.
yeah. But the flights ended up being it was going so freaking fast, especially on squat. And I had one of the heavier squats openers, so as people were warming up, I was starting to really stress out, and then I was 10 minutes out from my opener, and I still had to go up 2 warm up sets, and so yeah, it can all just depend. Some places have kilos to warm up with, some have pound plates, so you're having to it all depends on who's there, how many people are there, what's going on. There's a lot of variables.
And I'll go ahead and say this: we're lucky because we have Charlie Lyons running WRPF. We have the best equipment at every meet, at every warm-up platform.
Yeah.
It's all ready. But at this meet, that was the Club 1 Classic, there were technical difficulties due to an internet situation. So a lot of the screens in the warm-up room weren't working properly. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people were rushed even more than they were with it being only 29 lifters. And I imagine if you're trying to over-prepare, that's going to make it feel even worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, me, I was first in my flight for pretty much everything, which was an interesting feeling while I was while I was warming up. Being the one with the lightest warm ups. But yeah, like he said, we had technical difficulties for my first attempt on squat. one of the judges there, like the phone wasn't working for the lights. So I had my headphones on. I was preparing to go out there and lift a small weight. I was waiting there for another minute and a half or so, which kind of didn't help my nerves, I guess, because I was very anxious just to get out of the way.
Yeah.
And then my third attempt, there was also some technical difficulties, like someone's attempt got put in and they jumped me in the line or whatever. But
Yeah, it was like you were supposed to be first, but then we had like 40 kilos loaded over what you were going to do. And then as I'm directing people to take it off, Charlie was like, "Nah, just let them do it. Fuck it. Skip them." so we had someone come out and do their attempt and then take weight off for Reiland to come do his third attempt.
Yeah.
That was supposed to open the third attempt. So
Yeah.
But after your first squat attempt, how did you feel? After you do it and you get it over with?
After going through prep and stuff, like I was very fatigued, obviously, but squat did make me feel good because it was it was flying up. I can't say the same for the rest of my meet, but squats were feeling really crispy. So after
flying up.
Yeah.
Because like me personally, I'm really nervous going into that first squat. But as soon as I go out there and do it,
Yeah. And I feel like too, for me, squat is, I don't want to say scariest, but squat is I'm always the most nervous for squat. Yeah. One reason, because it's first, it's like the icebreaker. Second reason, it's, in my opinion, the most difficult lift as far as if you've got tons of weight on your back and you fail the squat, then
technique wise,
I mean, with a deadlift, you can just drop it. Bench, is bench.
It's scary.
Yeah.
Bench is scary.
So your feeling going into the first squat, what were you thinking about when you were like walking up to the squat?
I guess I'll shout out Cole.
Cole
Puckett, he helped me a lot through the prep. I guess something he told me during his meet at the Ultimate Warrior, he said, like, you might have a lot of nerves, but at the end of the day, like, you do this shit every day. So it really, as nervous as I was like, oh, well, I can do one rep a squat. Like,
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's a big truth.
Yeah.
But I'll caveat that with this. It was your first meet. What an experienced lifter is kind of thinking in the back of their mind for the opener squat is, if I miss this for whatever reason, it sets everything back. Every single bit of the plan is now fucked because I missed the open, whether it's depth, strength, whatever. So that's kind of the difference of thought there. It's like,
I will say I 110% had that in the back of my mind because I'm a warrior, like I said, but
you were thinking ahead in the first meet instead of like, okay, all I got to do is do this one squat. We're good.
Yeah, I mean,
get on the board.
I don't want to brag on myself, but like I said, I do prepare a lot. So I had a bunch of people in the back asking me about like commands and stuff, and like I was able to answer their questions. But I'm like, this is my first meet.
You can brag on yourself. That's what this is for.
Yeah.
A lot of people talk about it. Not a lot of people do it. A lot of people will say, "I'm going to compete one day," and then they never step on the platform.
It's like what I tell y'all every day in here. Just squat it. Just pick it up. Just bench it. That's all you got to do.
I had that in my mind going up.
Yeah.
All you got to
just
do.
fucking squat it.
That's all you got to do.
Now for Zoe, give us your first meet experience. What were your feelings going into squat?
And we were just supposed to stare at each other, like, shake. My hands were shaking. I was nervous. Like, the whole week up leading into that, I was calm, cool, collected. I was fine. And then right as I started, I'm like, this is official now. Like, even during weigh-ins the day before, I was like, still not here yet. And then those nerves hit me like a ton of bricks. But honestly, going into my first squat, I wasn't really that nervous. Like, once I got up on the platform and just really realized what I was doing, I zoned in pretty quickly. My mom was there and my sister, so it was nice to see them. They're always supporting me, even though mom didn't quite understand what was going on.
They never will.
Yeah. Really, after that first squat, I was zoned in. I was honestly expecting just to get 2 attempts down for my squat, and the thing that was terrible, because it's honestly the one that I was struggling with the most throughout the whole 16 weeks of the program. But it's actually the one that I got 3 for 3 in, and the one I felt the best in, I got one of my attempts and failed the other 2. So
Well, I will say, just judging by watching your prep, you are a grinder. You will grind one out, and that third squat was a grinder.
I felt like you're on the bar for a solid 10 seconds.
That's another thing that's really cool. Like, and someone that's never been to a meet may not understand, but if you see somebody grinding the absolute shit out of a rep, that is something so cool to watch, especially like a masters person.
Yeah.
Or like, that's so cool to watch. And like, yeah, that's one of the things. It's like, we're in Alabama, like Tuscaloosa college football. It's like, 80-yard bomb to the end zone. It's like, that's so cool. That's the cool
It would be like an 80-yard dive.
yeah.
It's like that, where suspense is building up over the second squat, and then
Especially a really hard squat or deadlift, and you're just like, it's shaking like,
and the lights aren't working, so they're like, fucking, the judges are over there slamming the buttons, and nothing's popping up, and everybody's on the edge of their seat, like, oh, did they get it?
honestly, that third attempt, I didn't know what weight I was squatting. After my second, it moved a lot better than I had hoped. And I looked over at Marius and I was like, go put a weight down. And he was like, all right, I'm not going to tell you, just go squat it. And I was like, alrighty. And I did it. And it was also, I don't know if it was the knee sleeves. I got the ergos and I had never worn them before. I put them on. And they really helped my squat too, I think. I don't want to admit it.
Confidence builder.
yeah.
Shout out Marius Garth.
Yeah. I'm happy he was there. He really believed in me a lot of times. Like, I get in my head, I'm very, very hard on myself. Even when I'm making progress, I still think it's not enough. So he was definitely there just to tell me to focus on one thing at a time and not just like be happy that I was doing it. Because I mean, like you said earlier, most people say they're going to compete and they never do, and did the damn thing. So
Yeah, he's the only reason I got my third deadlift attempts, to be honest.
With Zoe's attempts, she forgot every single time to go give her next attempt to the pace. Every single time she was focused on getting off the platform as soon as possible, sprinting on.
And there's me getting
I was not prepared for that at
me like, I got my attempt. I'm like, dude, you need to go give your weight.
Yeah, that's one thing. I remember my first couple meets. I hit that lift as soon as I saw those white lights. I booked it back to the warm up room, and they're like, "Wait!"
Yeah,
Because like when you hit a big lift, like your mind, you're just like
You're not
thinking about that. You're thinking like how to move. Like
I think if you hit a lift at all, you're not thinking about
Yeah.
that. You're just like, all right,
Thank you. They were going to check my equipment. I ran off on like my third attempt on deads, I believe.
Yeah.
And one of the judges was like yanking on me, like trying to drag me back over because I completely forgot. Because that was like the last thing I was thinking about.
If you break a state record, the judge has to check your equipment and make sure you're not a dirty cheater.
this will be interesting. So if there was something that going in you wish you would have known, what are your thoughts on that? What would it have been?
For me, honestly, I was very anxious when it came to warm-ups, just asking to change the weight. I need to realize that what I do in the gym on a day-to-day basis for my warm-ups, that's exactly what I should have been doing at the comp. I think for squat I did that, but for bench, I was just warming up with whatever they had on the bar. That was definitely, I don't think that's the reason why I missed my second and third attempt, but it definitely didn't have me in the right headspace because I'm used to what I normally do. So that was something that I definitely took away and wish I would have done different.
But I definitely a little bit messed up because you asked me before your first attempt if you should try your first attempt. I was like, so you know.
Don't do that. Let me jump in on that. If you are warming up for a meet, do your warm-ups. Do not let people bully you around in the warm-up room and not let you get on the ball. Do what you have to do. And if they don't want to let you in, go to the other platform. They should have 2 platforms when you warm up. And if not, then ask someone else to help you get your weight on the bar. There are coaches in the warm-up room that should be nice enough to help you. Just because one person's being an asshole and won't let you work in, when you're warming up for a meet, their white lights that they might get are not more important than yours.
I will say the one thing I noticed is like so many nice, helpful people in the warm-up room. Because like Zoe and I both came in without a coach, but there were so many people in the back like ready to rack and like put weights on the bar. So I barely had to do a lot of that. They're asking if I wanted to lift off, all that sort of stuff. So many helpful people.
It was a kind of strange meet because there were a lot of like young kids doing it, which is good.
There's a wild amount of people that it was their first meet. It was very unexpected.
A good thing to hear too in a way, because it's not just you, that's your first time. Like, you never know how many other people are there that could be their first one.
There's a lot of people very, very supportive. Like, I've never met them before, but we were like best friends by the end because we were both going through our first meet together.
Goes back to what we said last time with Heather and Corey. It's the community is just 9 times out of 10, the community is out of this world.
I don't know how it is in other states or other federations, but every time I've only done Charlie's meets, and whether it's USPA or WRPF, and every time I go to a meet, I come away meeting new people and people that are supportive of what I'm doing.
That like everyone, it's kind of you're competitive with each other, but also everyone's there with the same goal.
Yeah,
It's like they just want to do well.
go out there, get the white lights, and get a cup.
And if someone is not acting like that, they don't really belong there. That's not really part of the community.
Right.
It's already a small community, and if you have people that are pushing new people away, especially, this is not good for them.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
So, I got a question for y'all. So, what were some emotions that you have now that you've done your first meet? What are the emotions you have going forward into your next comp? Or do you just want to say, fuck it, I'm done? One and done, I'm not doing this again.
I think that this is probably not an uncommon feeling for a lot of competitors, but I'm like itching to get back on the platform. There's a meet that I think Josh is going to be doing and a few other people that I'd like to do as well because it'd be cool to have be up there with a lot of my friends. There's a lot of mistakes that I made in my prep on the platform that I could remedy, hopefully, and I'm ready to get back up there.
So we maybe should have done this earlier. So how long have both of you guys been lifting and then just competing or powerlifting in general?
So I want to say in high school I started Planet Fitness as you do, and I kind of started taking it seriously my senior year of high school, and then so last year was my freshman year of college, and I was doing your freshman year of college guy standard lifting.
Your bro split.
Bro split, basically. Bro split in the rec center, pretty much. I still benched and squatted a little bit, but that was about it. And then I started powerlifting in February, but Zoe and I both did because we went to go watch the USPA state meet because I had known Heather, and we went to see it, and we both looked at each other and we were like, we have to do this. So both a week later, I got a membership here. Zoe got a membership a few weeks later.
1st of May.
Yeah, a little bit later, and started powerlifting then. And I was kind of self-programming. Zoe had a powerlifting program she found. I'll let you talk a little bit more about your history in lifting.
So I started really lifting, I'd say, about freshman year of college. I was playing volleyball for a really long time, and then I got hurt, grew into kind of disliking it, and my outlet was the gym. It's like several other athletes that go through their injuries. But I had a bodybuilding coach, per se. He wasn't charging me anything, but he competed himself, took a lot from his own coach, and saw a lot of potential in me and one of my sisters. We started doing that for a while, and it kind of made me grow into disliking the gym. And I don't like to admit it, but it is it's like my main identity. Without it, I don't know what I would be, just because it's such a huge part of my life. But once I switched to powerlifting, I kind of knew what I had to put into a program to see results. I was a kinesiology major, school, graduated, about to go into grad school for athletic training. So I kind of had an idea, even though I mainly learned preventative practices, not necessarily practices to help you in powerlifting. Took exercise physiology, but that mainly teaches exercises for the general population, so it helped me in some ways, but not many. Definitely learned that through the program. Makes me ready to have a coach. Definitely, for sure. Now looking back at going through the whole program, there's definitely a lot of things I would have done different, but after the comp, I had that huge rush of adrenaline, really eager to go back and do another one, but there was a few days where I got kind of down about it. Looked it up. It is a thing. Post-comp blues, post-comp depression. Yep. like I felt like I gave it my all out there during the comp and like right after. But as I sat down and thought about it more, there's so many things I would have done different. I'm just in the comp, but during the prep, and I was being really hard on myself. But now that's kind of brushed away. I'm just really like eager to get back into it, fix those things that I realized I made mistakes on, and we can really only go up from here. And I feel like every comp is going to be that way. I'm going to go in it, have that rush of adrenaline, get kind of down about it, but if you're not hard on yourself, you're not going to improve.
Yeah.
So.
And the reason I ask about you guys' background is because I know you are newer to powerlifting, but y'all are in such an exciting position right now because like this is something y'all continue doing. Over the next couple of years, y'all are going to see like insane gains. If y'all just started in February, like it's going to be really cool and it's going to be really fun and addicting for y'all because your numbers are just going to be going up like crazy, which is really cool. And just talking about something like when y'all are talking about post-meet blues, I'm a big fan of a guy named Andrew Huberman. He has a podcast. He's like a neurobiologist, and he talks about when you after a competition like that, you know, your dopamine's so high during that competition, and then afterwards you're going to have a little bit of a crash. But he talks about how that's why, like during prep and during the process, if you can learn to kind of enjoy the prep and get, you know, your excitement and motivation as you're going through prep, it instead of just like having a huge spike with your competition and then a crash. So that's kind of interesting. But
To add on to that, closer to home would be Nick Saban.
yeah,
And you both went to UA and graduated, so you can relate or will. And enjoying the process and not paying attention to the goal. The goal is going to come regardless, as long as you do the little things during the process to make it. So,
That's the process.
and trusting it, being involved in it,
Yeah.
being aware that it's happening. And then once you get to the end, the meat is just part of it.
yeah.
It's not anything different. It's what you normally do. That's kind of what
Spoils
Cole meant.
war. And yeah, I think, you know, as long as you're having fun and prep is fun and you're enjoying like your progression and lifting weights, it's easy. And you know, you'll be successful because if you love something and you're passionate about it and it's fun and you enjoy doing it, then you will be successful. So
I guess one thing I would say is I did make some mistakes throughout my prep, but I think the one thing that I did do well is I managed my expectations pretty well. Like I did have a goal going into the meet of a total that I didn't hit. I wanted 1,000 pounds, but I was short of that due to a few mistakes. But I was kind of aware ahead of time that this is just a test of like where I'm at. It's not like an end goal or like really that huge of a thing. It was kind of just
It's just the beginning.
yeah, it was just the beginning, kind of just a fun thing for Zoe and I to do together and test like all the work I put in pretty much. Yeah.
It is really nice to hit the goals that you've set, like in the beginning, 12 weeks out, whatever. You hit those goals at the end at the meet. It's really nice to do that. But at the same time, the goals don't really matter in powerlifting because the goalpost gets moved every single time you do it. If your goal was 1,000 pounds this time, even if you hit that, next time it's not going to be 1,000 pounds. And which that's the vicious cycle that kind of sucks.
Yeah,
It's hard to ever be truly satisfied with what you do.
I was very aware with my bench, like, you know, being a gym bro last year, like I was training semi for strength on my bench. And like, you know, as soon as I hit 200 pounds, like 200 pounds isn't cool anymore. Now I want 225, that kind of stuff. But
Yep.
It was definitely a very different transition going into powerlifting than what I was originally doing at the gym. With what I was doing, I did not squat at all. So going into a sport where you gotta squat,
Not even in fit shape. That's crazy.
which I'm happy I did it. I'm really happy I did it because it was all in my head. I let a knee injury define me for about a year and a half. It was an excuse, but powerlifting got me to realize it was just an excuse and that I'm fine. And really glad I did it. And it's a huge mental battle too.
And something like that is more valuable than any total you'll ever get.
And I'm just happy to find something that I'm competitive in again, because after volleyball, I didn't have that competitive drive for much, and it's led me back into it, and I'm so happy because it's one of the main things that keeps me going. So
It's nice to be competitive with mainly yourself too.
yeah,
If you don't have to worry about what other people are doing as much. Less scouting for sure.
But, like-
until they post the meet roster, and then you're scouting every single human being on the list.
You look at open. What's this dude squat?
And it
What's
literally-
it?
It doesn't
What
matter.
do
You just have to do what you can do.
Yeah.
But you're still going to look either way.
But like going back to what y'all said earlier, what this sport of powerlifting to me boils down to is going out there and having fun.
You have to.
Yeah, you're chasing a total, you're chasing numbers, you're trying to, boost your rank on open powerlifting and everything. But at the end of the day, it's a sport that we choose to do and participate in. So why not just have fun with it? Yes, you take it serious. And yes, you train hard. But you want to have fun while you're doing it. You don't want to make it miserable. Because when you make it miserable, you're not going to want to do it.
You get burned out.
Yeah.
You see people come and go. People get burned out so much in powerlifting. Or in strength sports in general. Like, they have one good competition, then the next one they do absolute dog shit at, and they're like, yep, I'm done.
Fuck this. No.
Never mind. I'm
Never
out.
again. I'm retiring.
Can't always have it.
actually, now that you mentioned that, I've been getting a lot of Instagram reels about it's mainly female powerlifters, but there were people constantly ask them like, hey, how do you do so well? And like, even if it's just the training or the coach, but a lot of them just say it's like outlasting other people because so many people come and go, and staying in it is a huge difference in its own to really get you to succeed.
Definitely.
Career of a powerlifter is like probably 2 to 3 years.
If that. Yeah. Zoe, if you could meet anyone in fitness, past or present, who?
Anyone? Oh, that's so hard.
Pick one or two or three.
Bodybuilder, powerlifter, strongman, fitness influencer,
I mean,
anybody.
you're newer. I imagine you're newer to it all than we are, especially me and Carson. So you will probably have a different group to pick from than we will.
Honestly, it's hard because the transition, I used to follow a lot of people that were more into bodybuilding, and I have like no interest in them whatsoever nowadays, to be honest. So for me, I'm still trying to learn more about who's out there and some of the bigger people and like people that I can find on my own that might not have a big following on social media, but they're in the same boat as I am. I had one girl reach out to me. Her name is Janelle. She goes by Janelle Fitness. She lives in Canada. She's a powerlifter. She reached out to me wanting to coach me, but I said no to her. Not because she would be a bad coach. She just didn't have the credentials really either, and I know that she was cutting me down on price because she was still learning. But she was someone that started following me, I think, right when I started my powerlifting journey. She randomly DM'd me one day and just told me, like, good job, keep it up. And even though I didn't really know who she was at the time, she was one of the first people that actually supported me in my journey. And even though I was pretty driven regardless of the support at the time, she's been messaging me nonstop throughout this whole process. She actually DM'd me the day after the competition, after I made my post about it, and just wanted to see how I was feeling, like physically, but mainly mentally too, because she knows that it's such a big mental game, and she still has full support with me. And told her that she asked me again if I was still looking for a coach, and I was like, no, actually I'm starting this coming week with Bryant. She still has my back no matter what. So
That's awesome.
yeah.
That's really cool.
That is an interesting perspective.
Yeah.
Way different than what I expected.
Yeah.
Shout out Janelle Fitness.
Thank
Canada. That's pretty cool. Reiland, if you could meet anyone in the fitness industry, who?
I'm probably gonna have to put a top 2 or 3, to be honest. But at the top, I'm gonna say Mike Israel. I am a nerd.
Doctor.
Dr. Mike Israel. Renaissance periodization.
Really, really fun person to listen to.
Yeah, for real. So I think Zoe talked about she's like in a sports medicine background. I am not. a lot of my information comes from guys like Dr. Mike Israetel, and he is a really funny guy, really smart. He used to be a powerlifter, and now he's a bodybuilder, and I think that's a really cool perspective. And I think it would be fun to just talk to him for an hour. He's hilarious.
He's interesting.
But Mike's insane because he's like 5'6", and he's like 9 weeks out, I think he said, from the show. 3 weeks out?
3 weeks out.
Three. Okay, yeah. And he's going
Masters National.
be going in at like 220 pounds or something, which is ridiculous. And I guess another guy would be Alex Bromley. When I first
Very
started
smart guy.
powerlifting, I binge watched probably every video he's ever posted. And I know he kind of likes to hate on powerlifters a little bit, and that's okay. But I like that about him. He's a very smart guy. So he's probably annoyed with it, but I like to watch the videos all the time.
No, it's about every week you're like, new
Probably just posted.
Reiland would constantly tell me, hey, you gotta watch this new video. And I mean, what I like about him is that he makes it simple. Like, he is educating the general population. He's not just throwing big words out there that nobody fucking understands, like several people do nowadays, just to sound smart, and they're seeking that approval because they're using the big words. I think a lot of people in powerlifting, anything that has to do with sports medicine, honestly, they just want to prove that they have the education, so they say a bunch of big words, but it's really not benefiting anybody in the long run. So that's why I really appreciate Bromley.
Yeah, Bromley and then Israetel are the two people I used their resources the most when it came to like going through my prep and stuff alone. Kind of religiously just watching their videos and trying to figure out how to program for the next week, which was interesting. That'll be my two. I don't need three.
I think that's an interesting perspective as well. Bromley's good. I think that's the way to go, though, is just find people that you like and keep digesting their material. I will say with people, I'm going to defend myself slightly, but like people using big words to describe things to laymen, when you're talking about something that's uber complex, like how the body works, you can't use general terminology all the time.
Yeah, that's
And if you took exercise science and learning the macro side of things of like, oh, this is what programming is like, and then knowing the micro side of things that you learned in school, that's how you put the whole picture together. And just seeing like, oh, a cycle, 12 weeks, we do heavy stuff at the end and lighter stuff in the beginning and mix it all in the middle. It's like, yeah, you know all that, but like, why do we do all that? It's hard to understand fully what's going on unless you get the micro side of things.
I am also with Bryant on that. I used to be kind of an optimal hypertrophy bro. So I like my fair share of big words. It also makes me feel smarter.
Constantly searching for optimization. It's miserable.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of, which we'll probably get into this more so with the smart guys that are coming on here, way smarter than myself.
When we get the scientists going, it's going to be important.
Yeah, we're just going to sound like a couple of just absolutely just rock eaters,
meatheads, perhaps.
Yeah, but it is interesting to a lot of studies that come out and new evidence. We'll talk about this in future episodes, but what is statistically significant enough to say that this has a positive effect to do this thing, and sometimes those are so small, and I guess that just goes back to the way that like studies are published and
when you start talking about p-values and what the z-axis shows, and it gets very everything gets jumbled up sometimes, especially if you're not consistently on top of what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
But starting powerlifting at this age, because hell, it'd be so cool to experience this, be able to apply myself to possibly more research in the future before I even learn everything, just so I could get my knowledge also from personal experience, but also research on itself as well. But
I think
that would be
there's a lot of what's different about powerlifting to me is there's a lot of people that have a lot of experience and zero education. The new wave is a good mix of both, but it's hard to find that in the current industry sometimes, because you either have fucking nerds that just read books, or you have bros that just circle heavy, pick up, move. Like
My mentality.
it's hard to find a good balance sometimes.
So Reiland first. if you close your eyes and you heard lifter ready, what in your mind do you think? Which lift?
I'm thinking back to squat because that was the one I was kind of getting most hyped for. I used to be like, I hated squatting. I'm not necessarily built for squatting, in my opinion, but like after this prep, I've kind of fallen more in love with it. I have added like 120 pounds to my squat in the last while.
Really good.
Must be nice.
I didn't have a high starting point, let's say that. Yeah, squat definitely, because I love the feeling like you walk out there and just like put your hands on the bar, like get under it and just go. And that's what I was thinking about. Yes,
Nice.
that'd be amazing.
What about you, Zoe?
Squats a close second, but I think I'd have to go with deadlift. It was one that
That's the alpha choice.
Yeah.
I was very scared to pull heavier weight when I started. I thought I was like only doing 275 for a long time. Then I want to say, was it Easter?
Yep.
Some random dude was in the gym with Reiland and I while we were in Missouri, and he had me work all the way up to 315. And I was like, dang, okay, maybe I can do more than I think. And then before I knew it, I had a bunch of support here and I pulled 350. Got close to it at the pump. I think 347 was what I got, but it just, yeah.
I wouldn't have what I pulled either, probably.
I zoned out for a little bit in the back before I got on the platform. The guy slapped the shit out of my back. I didn't know where I was for a second. I got up there and I think out of all the lifts, that's what I locked in on the most. It's what really got me going too. I think even though I was exhausted from my grinder of a squat very early in the comp, I got that energy back from deadlift. It just awakened something in me.
Yeah, before third attempts on deadlift, that's the best feeling I've had in a while. Because like I had a bit of a injury, tweaking my back, whatever, a few weeks back, and I re-aggravated on my first attempt and didn't get my second attempt off the ground. And then the third attempt, I was like listening to some hype speech, Erwin from Attack on Titan. While like I'm listening to that, at the same time, Marius is like speaking in my ear. He's like, "There's no fucking reason you don't stop pulling. Like this is your third attempt. Just pull until you get that shit up." Like half listening to that, half like barely hearing anything. Yeah.
I think everyone should do a comp at least once in their life. Just see your potential. Yeah. But honestly, like for me, once I started, I'm now obsessed with it. I'm really hoping my sister becomes the same way because I'd love to get her in here and do a tandem deadlift since we got the same exact build.
Wins.
Yeah. But even with like volleyball, she's always way stronger than me. She's got some monster legs, so she's got a lot of potential to do.
We're good?
Yeah.
All right.
Well, let's shout it out. And that's Zoe at...
Oh, my Instagram?
Yeah.
It's Zoe Larson _ but it's Zoe with 2 E's.
And
Yeah, I'm Reiland Eubank. Go ahead and spell that for you. ReilandEubank.
So give these guys a follow. Really encourage them as they begin their powerlifting journey, because this is a awesome community. And so that was a Friday night at the Barbell.
that was your Friday night at the Barbell, right?
Yeah.
That way.
We'll see you guys later.